Well, hey there, Power Appers. I'm joined today with Matt Peterson. Now, we were at lunch, like we always are, eating our 2-pound bag of Twizzlers. And as we were doing this, we had some good ideas as the sugar high started kicking in. We wanted to show some of the ideas we had around an employee onboarding system to take a job from approval all the way to people applying for it to onboarding those employees. So we built a rough application to kind of show that story. Matt, kind of tell us about the scenario you're looking at building here.
Yeah, so the idea is sometimes you're developing Power Apps, and sometimes just one app doesn't meet all the needs of what you want your business project to do. So in our use case, what we're going to do is showcase 3 different styles of apps. We're going to have a Canvas app that is all about for our internal employees to put in a new job position that we want to get filled. But we can't just say, hey, let's start hiring people. It's going to have to go through an approval process. So the employees are going to use a Canvas application to put in the job and the requirements. And then that's going to send off, once the record is created, an approval to the admin saying, hey, here's the details about it. Do you approve that we need to fill this position in? Once that is done, the employees don't worry about that Canvas app ever again. Then we're going to switch on over into the model-driven application. And this is where we're going to be able to see all the different jobs that have been requested, whether they've been approved or not. And then once we do that approval, Brian is going to take us over into Power Pages to show how can we have users not inside of our organization apply for this job. And that's one of the beautiful things about Power Pages. You don't have to license every user. You just license the application. So
Awesome.
then Brian's going to put in a great application, I'm sure, with all these wonderful requirements that he is going to meet. And then once that's done, me as the admin can go into the model-driven application again and see that application that was just created. And then we're going to decide, are we going to hire Brian or does he not meet par, right? And then if we decide that we want to hire him, we're going to use our model-driven application again to go through the onboarding experience process of, has he submitted his non-disclosure agreement? Did he even accept the job offer? So we've got a lot of cool features inside of here that we built out, and we're just kind of really excited to show this off to you.
Awesome. Well, 2 things then. We are going to provide the code we're going to show today. It'll be about an hour from now. We'll put it in the description of this video. In addition, we're going to show 3 applications that all interconnect with Dataverse. Now, Matt, why did we decide to use a Canvas app for the first one you're going to show? You want to pull it up real quick and talk about why we chose this?
Yeah, let's pull this up. One of the things I love about Canvas applications, and let me just bring it right on over here, is it's got a great UI style design to it. And we've actually added in all this design that you see up here. These are components that we have made here at Pragmatic Works to make app spin-ups even quicker, so you don't have to put in your own headers and your own footers. So what you'll see and why we chose the Canvas app and why we chose Dataverse. Dataverse we chose because model-driven apps, Power Pages have to use it. Canvas apps don't, but Dataverse comes with such ease of creating tables and columns, which we'll be showcasing a little bit later today, as well as great security features that come embedded into the Dataverse experience. So here's how the employees would say, I'm ready to put in a new position that we want to get filled. So they're greeted here with this home screen. And you can see I've got buttons over here on the right to click on, as well as I got this cool little slide out menu. And again, if you're interested in getting these pre-built components, we'll put a link below in the video as well, so you can download this solution, put it into your environment, and start to have fun with our components. So let's kind of go through this process. So here's what I would do. I'm coming in. I'm going to go over here to positions. So over here, I've got some records of positions that we've already put in. And then we have a form on the right for us to put in the information. So let's say today we are going to hire a chemistry teacher. So I'm going to go chemistry teacher. And then for the department, this is looking at a choice column on our Dataverse table. We're saying, well, what department is this for? So we'll say it's for teaching. Job description is we're going to keep this very simple and easy today. So we're going to go with teach students, handle parent phone calls, and taking care of kids.
And while you're doing that, Matt, one of the cool reasons that we chose, one of the reasons why he's typing this in here is this was built in a couple hours. So we were able to launch this from start to finish in a webinar we did, a private webinar we did. So we thought we'd bring it to YouTube to show you guys, and we'll actually show you a little pieces of how we did this also after we get this data in here as well.
Yeah. So I would say Pragmatic Works University, estimated low salary, we'll say 50,000, high salary is 55,000. I'm going to put a start date. We'll say it's coming up around May 25th here. And level of education desired. Here again, I have another choice list for me to choose from. So I'll say a bachelor's degree, and we'll just say skills desired, great person overall. So Brian, hopefully you are that great person. Apply here. So now as I go in and I make this request, I'm going to come on over here and say, I want to create the job request. And so we can see here that my job request has been submitted. Now, some of the things I just kind of want to show you that's built into this application, how it was designed, and let me get rid of that here. I'll go out of preview here, is inside of here, you can see I've put my different little components in here. We've put in some images. This over here on the left, this is what we call a gallery. This is how we can show all of our data. And I have it sorted to see the first one that's going to be where the starting date is. So I have it set to descending. And what we have here is I have some other conditional logic. And this is some easy stuff that you can do inside of your own applications. So if I come on over here and I select this little rectangle here, and I'm going to go to its fill color. So let me go to the fill color. I have a little bit of complex code here, but not too bad. But basically, it's just saying, let me look at the records job opening approved column. And if it is submitted, I'm changing the color to light gray. If it's been approved, we're going to change that color over here to green. If it's under review, we have it in orange. And then finally, if it's been rejected, we're going to turn it to red. So all of this application here, just to let you know, this took myself probably about 2 to 3 hours to create. Once I had the tables of data created, it's a nice, quick, easy gallery, a form that's put inside. And then one of those other screens that I have on this is if I want to go look at all my other approved positions, I can come on over here and see all the positions that currently have been approved, and then also some details about that. So this right here is called a display form. So as I click on each individual position here, I can see all the different details for it. And these are only for the ones that I have filtered down to the approved ones. So that's why my record's currently not showing here, because I don't have that job currently approved. So that's kind of the idea of how this Canvas application works here.
And I find, Matt, that Canvas apps make a lot of sense, especially if you want to put, I call it bumper bowling, right? You want to have an application that has bumpers up to where you're kind of preventing them from straying too much. The application you're going to show in a moment is more of a model-driven app. And imagine those teachers or the principals using that model-driven app. They work great and they're awesome, but there's no bumpers on. And they can do whatever they want to do because of that. So that's why I typically use Canvas for your frontline workers. Now let's show the back office application for that HR team to approve these and finance team.
Awesome, let's do it. And so again, here's that chemistry teacher, which is currently job status of submitted. So now what I'm going to show is the model-driven application. So all the data that gets collected in that Canvas app, it's storing it all inside of Dataverse. And so in here, we have a few different tables. The one that we're kind of interested in right now is just our jobs table. And on this jobs table, this is what we call a view. Views are so easy to make in model-driven apps. You just click what columns you want to see, and it's all done. Unlike in a Canvas app, I have to write a little bit of code to get those values to show up here. So these are all currently the active approved jobs because I have a filter just using a nice little drop down to say only show active. So what I want to show here now is if I come back over to a different view and I go to my active but not yet approved jobs. So I'll come on over here and we can see here is the chemistry teacher job that I just created. So now as an admin, and you can control what different things your users see with the security that comes with Dataverse. So I'm going to come over here and let's take a look at that chemistry teacher job. So once I click on chemistry teacher here, we can see that this is all the details that I just put in here. And now what I would do at this point for this form would have been only for the admin side. If we wanted them to use the model-driven app in order to change the job opening approved to yes, it has been approved. Or hopefully my email has finally come through here. Here we go. Let me bring this on over. What I have here is the Power Automate that I had kicked off. And basically my Power Automate said, anytime a new record is created, let's send all those records to the admin to choose if they're going to approve of this job. So if I come on over here, we can see I brought in all the details about that record I just made, and I'm now going to approve this job. And I'm going to say, yes, this is a high need position. All right, and then I'll submit this. And what's going to happen in just a second here, it's now working on it, is when I go back into the model-driven application, so let me close out of this one here. When I come back here, this is now going to update the record. Power Automate's going to do this for me all on its own. So if I come over here and I hit refresh, boom, look what we got. The job opening approved has now been approved. So I used the Power Automate to set that up, but this could easily have been done inside of the model-driven application. So that's the one thing that this MDA now has. Now, the other thing that this has is all of our job applications. So if I come on over here into our job applications table, we can see all the different applications for all the different jobs that have been out there. So you can see we've done some play testing around in here. We've had a little bit of fun here. President of the Brian Knight Fan Club, right? So with all these applications here, these are the active ones. And if we want to make a new application, you could have this internally for your employees to where they could make a new application and then they could choose what they are applying for. And we'll talk about what you're seeing up here in just a few moments. So that's one way. Brian's going to show in just a few moments how we can make the application through the Power page.
So Matt, how about I go ahead and apply for that position?
Let's do it.
And then you'll see that position in the model-driven app next. And we are going to show pieces of how we built all this also. You want to see the whole end-to-end because that would take a couple hours. But let me show you how we can actually build this out a slightly different way. So on my side, I'm seeing the make.powerpages.microsoft.com. And then I'll go to preview the site that we already have built. Once I have this open, it's a little fake university we have built here. We'll go and as you can see, there is no positions open because we've locked down that page to only people that are currently authenticated in. Now I can authenticate by creating an account here and a register. I can make it a private portal right here, or I can use things like Azure AD, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google, a whole bunch of different ways of authenticating into this. I'm going to go ahead and use Azure AD since that will just kind of short fuse my project here. And then once I sign in, it does support multiple languages. You can see preferred language down here. And what I'm looking at is my contact record in the Dataverse table. So when I go to job postings, I should hopefully see Matt's algebra teacher. Well, maybe it's not in here yet. Algebra teacher. Oh, I'm limiting this down right now. So let me go ahead and apply for that now. I'll go ahead and create a new application. And I'll see the list of, let me finish up this one application I've already finished here. All right, I'm just going to submit that, hit next, and that should hopefully get that going. So this is, notice one of the cool things I just showed there by accident is as I go through this, it keeps my settings from the last form I submitted. So as I go down here and create a new application for a job, oh, there we go. As I create that application for the job, it basically keeps my settings for that job already out there. Matt, let's open up the Brian Fan Club President one. Let's see what that looks like as far as my skills and all those types of things in that. Would you mind showing us that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me bring it on over here. So for the Brian's Fan Club, which we have, let me come right on over here. President of the Brian Knight Fan Club. So I'm just going to click on this job right here. So for this job, this is, again, just the job record itself. But if I come on over here to current applications, we can see that 2 people have applied for this job. Now, what you're looking at in here in this model-driven app, this is called a subgrid control. What a subgrid does is it will go to all of the child records that has a relationship to it, and then we can choose to show those records right here. So we don't have to navigate to the other table to see them. Another cool thing that we get with model-driven apps. And so if I take a look at this one, let me just come in over here to this application. And when I click on this application, now notice that I'm seeing all the details that Brian had submitted on his prior Power Page application here. So I'm seeing his name. He hasn't filled out all of his information yet. But what we would see is if he did upload his picture ID, education transcripts, resumes, I would now be able to see that inside of here as well. And so what we'll do with this, as we start to see the information coming from these applicants, what this will do now, this is what I call the admin approval only form. This is where the administration would come in. This is a separate tab built into the form. And so if I'm ready to say, you know what, Brian, let's get you going. I want to have you come to this job. We're ready for you. I come on over here to the applicant ruling. And so the applicant status is currently set to submitted, but I can say, you know what? Let's send him the job offer. So I'm going to send him the job offer, and then I'm going to put an official salary in. Now, what you're seeing with this official salary column is you have this little lock symbol next to it. Because in Dataverse, what you can do is set up field security so that when you assign a security role to the users of your app, that security role can have certain things like, for the official salary column, we're not going to allow you to see the data, or we're going to allow you to see it, but you can't edit it. So there's a whole bunch of field security you can put into place. So for my admins, they would have kind of all rights to it to where they could go and edit it. But for my smaller end users, I might say you can see it, but you can't do anything else with it. So I'll put in here something like, you're going to get $95,000 for this job. And then I can save this over. So my job offer has now been sent. Brian, you want me to keep going with the onboarding process of how the—
Yeah, let's do that. And we'll show how it's built in the next few minutes here.
All right, sounds good. So this was my admin approval only form. So now what else can we do with this? So this app already, we've got a lot of things already going on inside of it. Well, now I can go and have my onboarding. So this would be for my users who are my onboard people in back of HR. This is the form that I would want them to see. So what we have up here at the top, this is called a business process flow. And what a business process flow does is it helps guide your user through the different stages of creation of your record. So it's like little whistle stops. So in order to get from point A to D, you're going to have to stop at point B and stop at point C. So it's a nice, easy way to start filling out your records. So we can see that this one has been active for 12 days. And that's the other cool thing. You can see how long your records have been sitting in a certain stage. So I'm going to come on over here to this job offer accepted. So I sent Brian the job offer. He has now accepted it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to update. And I'm going to say, yeah, job offer has been accepted.
I'll be the president of my own fan club.
There we go. So I'm going to click yes. And notice once I clicked yes, now I can move to another stage in here, because business process flows, you can have conditional logic of when can you move to the next stage. So this had to be done before I could do anything with security intake. So I'll say next stage here. And now I start to fill out all of this good stuff. So is this background check complete? Sure is. No comments needed. Submitted his drug test. He's passed it. And his signed his non-compete. Now notice when I click on yes here, now I can go to payroll setup, because we had in here before you can move to payroll setup, all of these had to be marked as yes before we can move through. So I'm going to hit next stage here. And now this is going to move me to my payroll setup stage. So this is helping guide that user through this logical process. I love these things.
And one of the cool things about that system is you can also have Power Automate watching that table. All that stuff's in a table somewhere. So as things hit certain like milestones or certain hurdles, you can alert that they're now holding the ball. So you can find out how long they spent on it, and then I'll be alerted whenever it hits their queue also.
Exactly. So I'm going to say over here now, I-9 received. You've got it. W-4 is received. Yes. I'm going to give him employee ID. I'll go with my favorite numbers here. All right. I love 26 for some random reason. So I'm going to go to next stage. And now onboarding is complete. I have finished. I've gotten everything that he needs here. And I'm going to say, yes, onboarding is now complete. And I'm going to hit on finish. Now, what I also have set up in this demonstration is I have another Power Automate that's monitoring our jobs table. And the minute that we finish an application and we change onboarding complete from no to yes, it goes and reaches out to the related job that this application is for. And it's going to go update that record to saying where job filled was, it used to be set to no for Brian's fan club, but now it's going to be set to yes, that job has now been filled. And so this is what we get with the model-driven application here. And so that's kind of like the big walkthrough of how we go through that. So some of the things that, yeah, Brian, did you want to?
No, that's good. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's go for it.
All right, let's go for it. So some of the things that we had in here. So we created it. And when you download our solution, if you want to put in your environment, you can start to take a peek and look at all of these codes here. But one of those things is I had what was called a process. And that was that business process flow. So when I click on my onboarding business process flow here, just to give you an idea, there was no code used to write this code to make this active. So one thing I do like about model-driven applications, you can spin them up fairly quickly. and no formulas are necessary. Unlike the Canvas application where we got to write some formulas to get some things done. It all comes down to kind of UI and what's your data source going to be. And of course, it wants to take a while here to actually load up. So I'm going to let that load for a little bit, and let me come back on over to here and show you some other things that we have built in here. So currently, these are the different tables that we had in here. Don't worry about this delete me table. It's for a demonstration down later on. But if I come on over into my job application table, whenever you make tables in Dataverse, there's lots of things you can do. Add your columns. And what you were seeing in the model-driven app, we created what were called views and forms. And these are where you have tailor-made views and forms right out of the box, but then you can make modifications to those. And so all I had done is I went to the forms, like for the job application table, and I had taken their main form. And here's what the main form looks like. It's very generic. It's going to have your primary column name on here. And then I just modified it within here. I added all these fields in that I wanted. And that's how I started to make that form out itself and put in these different kinds of components inside of it. Now, the other thing that I want to show is on the actual table itself. Let me come back to job application. I have business rules. And so what business rules can do is where you can put in different types of logic. So I have one like check if currently employed. And so based on a condition, if they're currently employed, I'm going to have in their application to where they want to show the user what is their current job and their duties. And I'm going to make sure that they fill that out in their application before they can save it. If they're not currently employed, then I'm going to hide the current job and duties. And I'm going to hide what's their current salary because that information is no longer relevant to me. And so all of this was done with drag and drop and just using these nice little drop downs to choose what do you want done. And it writes the code all for us in the back end here.
So it looks like Visio almost when it creates those.
Exactly.
Well, Matt, should we build a small example? Like maybe how about a club example where we can create new clubs and do a model-driven app and a portals app and show you how they all interconnect?
I think that's a great idea. Let's
give it a shot. All right. So what we'll do then is you'll create the table, the model-driven app, and I'll create the portal on top of it. We're going to use the portal for people that might be outside of our organization, and we'll use a model-driven app for people inside the organization in our example.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new table here inside of this solution. So I'm going to come up here to new, and I'm just going to go table. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this my club table. And then whenever you make a table in Dataverse, one of the things you always have is a primary column. This is like your title column in SharePoint. This is the logical way someone would talk to the user about the record, but it's not the unique identifier. Dataverse handles all of the unique identifier columns for you, and I'll show you that in a second. So for here, I'm going to go with my primary column. I'm going to call it the club name. Keep it pretty simple here. And then from there, once I have that done, I'm going to just come on down here and click on save.
Right.
And so this is going to create a brand new table for me. And it's not just going to have one column on it. Here's the beautiful thing about Dataverse. It's going to have a whole bunch of pre-plumbed columns that are going to be used for like auditing, for our security, for other business processes to run in the background as well.
So awesome. So all that plumbing, the security work is all done for you then. That's amazing.
Yeah. So now that I have the table made, if I come up here and click on columns, as I was saying, look at all of these columns that were created. And these are things that is going to be handled by Dataverse in the background for us. Who created the record? Who's the owner of the record? When was it modified? And here's that club name column, which was my primary name column. Now, if I want to add in a new column here, I just simply click new column. And so I'm going to do something like the club sponsor. So who is going to be the sponsor of this club? And so when I come on down and I choose the data type, we have lots of data types to choose from. And so this is what's great. I don't know how to stand up a SQL database and make the tables. I've seen it done, but I really don't have that experience, right? I was a teacher in my former life, never was DBA. But when it comes to Dataverse, I'm making a relational database right here with a nice UI design to where I don't have to know that stuff, which is awesome. So I'm going to make a lookup column here. And I'm going to have it look up to another table inside of Dataverse. And this is one of the tables that comes pre-generated when you stand up a database inside. And this table is called the contact table. So we're going to look at all of our available contacts and then choose who is this going to be the sponsor of this club. And so I'm going to come on over here and then simply click on save.
So Matt, why do we
save.
choose a contact table in this case? Like what does it hold?
Yeah, so the contact table is basically Microsoft said, hey, here's a very common table people would like to use. And so to store contact information, so a person, so their email address, phone number, what company do they maybe work for, all just your demographic information that you can choose to utilize already inside of Dataverse and not make your own tables. So if I was doing something like for my school, I would use the contact table to store all of my student information. Or my parent information as well.
Yeah, and it's also the account table, which is really useful for storing company information. The reason why it's really important to use the contact table in this example is Power Pages also uses the contact table to store things like usernames and passwords. And it's going to use that to where you can only see your own club that you're the sponsor of. So by Matt linking it to that table, it's going to help me later, selfishly, to use that table to see only my own clubs.
All right, exactly. So what I'm going to do now is just to come on over here real quick. So I'm going to come over here to my forms of the club table. And here's what the generic main form looks like whenever you make your own custom table. So I'm going to click on this main form, and what you'll see is it has two columns here for me. It's going to have my club name, which is my primary column, and it's going to have the owner of the record, which is going to access for us. So what I can do, I'm going to make one little modification here. Owner's really taking up too much space, so I can just simply look how easy it is to drag and drop and put it into a brand new location. And so now I choose, well, what columns do I want to add into this form? So what I want to put in here is my other column, which is going to be that club sponsor. And watch, it's just a click, and it's now put onto the form. And we're going to make it simple, very basic form right here. But once I have my form done, I'm going to come on over here. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to hit publish. And all the things that you make in your tables in Dataverse, forms and views, you're building the basic blocks of what the model-driven app can now utilize when you create it. So that's why you go through a process. Typically, you're going to make views of how you want to see the data, forms of how you want to enter that data, and how do you want to edit that data. And once you create all of your different views in your forms, creating the model-driven app, it's easy as 1, 2, 3 almost. Well, it's not technically 1, 2, 3, but watch how easy this is. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to say I want to make a new app, and I want it to be a model-driven app. I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call this the Club Sponsor App. And then I'm just going to hit create. Now, when I create this, it's going to have the skeleton of the model-driven app. It's kind of like starting with the blank Canvas app for my Canvas app people. But now, when I'm ready to say, well, what pages do I want on this left-hand navigation panel? I just simply hit Add Page. So I'm going to hit Add Page. I go, okay, well, what do I want to use? I want to use what I've created on my Dataverse tables. So I'm going to hit Next. And then I just choose the tables that I want. So in this case, I need 2 tables. I need the contact table. I'm going to choose my contact table, and then I want my club table. And so I'll choose my club table, and I'll hit add. So I've now added these here. Now I could make modifications, call these different table names, display names inside of here, but I'm going to keep it just clubs and contacts. Actually, no, what I'm not. I'm going to take this contacts. Let's make it more accurate. These are for my teachers. So I'm going to change that on over to teachers here. So it doesn't change the name of the table, just changes the way it's displayed in the application. So now I'm going to save this, I'm going to publish it, and I'm going to play it so that you can see how quick it was to make this table and start to create these new clubs and choose to add people to it. So I'm going to publish, I'm going to hit play. And what's great about this is it's bringing in predefined views. Like you can see here on the contacts table, they already have one filtered view called My Active Contacts, which means there's 2 filters. I'm the one who created the contact, and the other filter is this is still an active record on the contacts table. So if I hit play here, notice here I don't have any active clubs. So Brian, do you want to make the clubs on your side? Or do you want
I'll do that. So you maybe create one on your side too, so we can see if it works on my side.
Sure. So I'll make a club here.
How about you make me the sponsor? Let's make one where I'm the sponsor and one where I'm not the sponsor.
Okay, so I will call this the soccer club, and then I'll make a sponsor here. I'll make that one for you, Brian.
Oh,
you want me? Yeah.
if you only knew how bad I was.
I know you coached soccer for a long time there. And then I'll make a new club here, and I'll call this I'm just going to go very basic. I'm going to call this the Algebra Club, and I'm going to choose myself as a sponsor, because that would have been what I would have sponsored. All math, right? Boring. So I'm going to save and close this here. And now take a look. Algebra Club, Soccer Club. If I click on Algebra Club, we can see that I am the club sponsor, and then we're off to the races here. So,
all right, Brian, Matt, was there really an algebra club at your school? Because I'm starting to get worried about you now. That's
it was an algebra club. I was the Quiz Bowl club sponsor. So algebra was part of it, but it was Quiz Bowl.
I see. Well, now that you got that done, Matt, what I did is I went back to make.powerpages.microsoft.com. I'm going to edit the portal that we were looking at before. And when I click on edit, it's going to open up the Design Studio. Now, this Design Studio allows you to go ahead and just make whatever tweaks you want right to the web page, and it then saves that like it's any other CMS or content management system out there. In my case, I'll go ahead and create a new page, and I'll just call this Clubs. Pick whatever type of template I want. I'll make mine a sub page here and hit Add. It's going to add that to my list, my navigation up top. And then right here, I'm going to add a new section. When I add that section, it will ask me, hey, how do you want to see this? Do you want to have as one column? I'll do one column, but you can make it however you wish here. Once I do that, it wants to know what to put inside this. And one of the cool things about Power Pages is as you do this, this is available to users outside of your organization. That's the use case for Power Pages. So imagine I'm a university with 60,000 students. I don't want to license all 60,000 students for Power Apps. Instead, I can license maybe 100 of them for Power Pages and for their onboarding, employee student onboarding, or the housing request, or the honors program registration, or whatever. All those things, you might have 100 people a month that use it, and it's different people each month. So naming those users from a licensing side can save you, tens of thousands of dollars potentially when you're using Power Pages instead of the other side. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, by the way, you can also put Power BI in this as well, so they get some analytics on this. So back in my my portal I had before, I'm going to start with a list of data. And the list of data is going to be a new list. And let's point to Matt's table. Matt, it was called Clubs, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Now notice right now I'm not finding that table. It's because this application right here is not aware that Matt made some changes outside the application. By me hitting the sync button, it's going to go ahead and refresh myself with Matt's changes. So I should be able to see that club table when I go back here and edit the list. I'm going to create a new list called Club. There he is. The data view is going to be the active clubs that he did. Oh, and I hit go too soon there, but you get the idea. And in a moment here, it's going to create a list of just some fake data. Now, this fake data is showing me some real column names, but fake data. If I were to preview this in a few seconds, it's going to open up the table, but it's going to have some issues. And I wanted to show this error message so you can kind of see how to get past this also. It's a permissions problem. When something doesn't work in Power Pages, likely it has to do with permissions, and everything is secure by default, which is the way you'd want it. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and hit the new permission button here or here to put some type of authentication on that. And I'll call this just contact-clubs. So I can see the contacts clubs. Global access essentially means I can see all the clubs. In my case, I only want to see my own clubs, so I'll do contact access. Account access means I can see any clubs in my company. I'll do contact access though, and it now wants to know, well, how do I get from Matt's club table to the contact table? Oh, there's a relationship that Matt created. That's that lookup column he created. And then what can I do with these clubs? Give me all the goodies here. And then lastly, I'll scroll down and add anybody that's authenticated can do this. You can also add your own web roles where you have a teacher web role and a student web role, and each of them have their own permissions around it. Now that we've got that done, I should be able to hit the preview button again. The preview button is wiping the cache and reloading the cache. And there we go. I'm only seeing one club though, which is what we expect to see. I'm not seeing Matt's lame algebra club, only the soccer club. And then there'll be a bully club that's going to go invade the algebra club later after this. Anyways, after we have this, I'm going to go ahead and simply create a form underneath this to add new clubs. I would likely, in real scenario, put this on a different page. But in my case, I'm just going to add a new section below this. Just be lazy. I'll add a form underneath it. And I'm going to hit a new form. I'll point to Matt's club table. I'll point to his form he created earlier, his information form. On data, it's going to insert a new record. On submit, it's going to give me a message saying whatever, happy-go-lucky stuff. I'm going to turn off CAPTCHA. Little known fact, Matt, did you know that CAPTCHA was invented by the devil somewhere in the 1500s in the Renaissance era? Anyways, back over here again, I'm going to turn off that. I don't have any attachments, but if I wanted to have attachments, I could turn that on. I'll hit OK. Give that a few seconds, and I'll see Matt's form right here, club name, club sponsor. By the way, we can also go over to and actually hit the edit fields right here and actually get deeper into this and see Matt's form right in this interface without having to go out to the solution. I don't have to go back and forth. This is the same form that Matt had open earlier, and I can add my own fields and add my own forms right from here as well. But let me go ahead and preview that form, and let's see how we did, Matt. All right, down below, I have my new club name. I'm going to create my bully club. And my bully club is going to be, oh, I have an issue here. No sponsors, no low records in this table right now. So this is telling me that in this case, that I don't have access likely to the contacts in this case. So I have to do the same thing, loosen up the security to where I can see all the contacts. And again, the same steps I did before, I can do there as well. I would just go back, point over to my form. You'll see permissions right here. And in the permissions, I'm going to create a new permission that will let you see your own record. So I'll let read access this time, and I'll let you actually connect to that record for anybody that's authenticated to get to the contact table. So I'll call this like global this time, -contact. In other words, show me all the contacts in this case. There we go, contact table. And then so on. So global means I can see all the records, all the sponsors, basically. So as I go through this, as I click on each of these options, it gets smarter and smarter. And you can also make it where it automatically puts that sponsor into that record for you automatically. But if I were to grab that bully club there, and you'll notice this case, I now have the record. I'll make myself the sponsor. And I'll call this the bully club. Hit submit. And then we're going to see it on my screen, the bully club. And Matt, let's see the beautiful record on your screen now also. If you were to refresh that screen he's on now, it all flows together. And now we can see my bully club is now interacting with his algebra club. So all sorts of neat stuff we can do with these to kind of tie all this together. But Matt, I think the big theme of this is kind of when do we use each of these app types? So let's kind of review that again to make sure everybody's on the same page. The Canvas app you showed us at first is perfect for those frontline workers with bumpers up, and you're kind of guiding their journey through. The model-driven app has the bumpers down. They can kind of go wherever they want and do whatever they want. It enforces that business process. And then lastly, the portal application I showed could be for anonymous users and for the users that are outside your domain, or maybe the users that only occasionally coming into the application. Matt, did we miss anything here?
No, don't think so. And then the only other thing, just to remember, Canvas app doesn't have to use Dataverse, but it can use Dataverse. And one of the cool things is like when you make your views in Dataverse, you can use those views inside of your Canvas apps as well with already those pre-filtered selections on there, which is why I love to use. Anytime I can use Dataverse, that's typically the way I'm going.
Awesome. If you have any questions, ask them in the chat window, or you can ask them in the comments of this description as well. One more thing, Matt is going to export out this solution the next hour or two, and he's going to put that in the description of this video as well, so you can download the complete solution. It's not, of course, a full end-to-end HR experience, but it does have you go through all that piece as well. Matt, we have a question here. This came in from Stephanie. Unfortunately, our company blocks Dataverse and Power Apps. Is there another way to do this list and with a list in Power Automate? Yeah. So the first part of the question, unfortunately, but we could use something like Power Apps for Teams is another option if you don't have Dataverse. You could also use, of course, SharePoint, SQL Server, any other option you wish. Everything we did here could be done with not having Dataverse, except for the Power Page. The Power Page and the Maldron app does require that we have Dataverse. You can link to another table if you wanted to that's outside of Dataverse, but it is a requirement for model-driven and the Power Page that I was showing. So the Canvas app is what you'd have to do, Stephanie, unfortunately. So you would kind of integrate everything into that Canvas application. Great question. Thanks for asking that. All right. Well, great. Thank you for joining us. You'll check out that solution in the chat window a little bit later today. Also, Matt, go ahead.
And Brian, speaking of Power Pages, I think we have that coming out on our on-demand learning very soon with the revamp. Is that correct?
Yes, I finished up the recording of that. It's being edited right now. So we're going to have the Power Page class on our on-demand at pragmaticworks.com in the next few days, hopefully. Additionally, this is one of the things we do is hackathons. We built this as part of a hackathon for another customer that was open to letting us share it with you guys also. It's a we give you a condensed version of it, but you get the idea. These hackathons that we do allow you to kind of build out your own example while we teach you. So we're not teaching with our examples, we're teaching with your business problems. But thank you so much for watching us. Matt, thanks for joining with me today also and building such an awesome app, and the Twizzlers earlier also. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.
Bye, y'all. It was fun.